Hi there. That's right, you guessed it, it's the great and glorious, soon to be famous one day Nick Dutch, back on the camera again for another delightful series of tarot readings. For those of you who haven't twigged by now, obviously you've seen like the titles of the show, you've seen like the words at the top of the channel name. You'll know that my name is Nick Dutch, and yes, I read tarot for a living. Now, many years ago, when I was just a little child, just like knee-high to a grasshopper, just like many kids were, you know, I was addicted to watching Sesame Street. Every single Saturday morning it would come on, and there I would be, you see. And I really enjoyed that show, and once in a while they'd have little sketches, so to speak, of people who were being interviewed about their jobs. And I remember one of them, it was, I think it was a Mountie postman who was going around the Rockies delivering the mail to all the remote locations on a horseback, and talking about his job and what he does, just to educate kids as to, what it's like to do that one particular job. And I often think these days, what would happen if the makers of Sesame Street would call me and I was to basically explain the work that I do to all the young kids out there. I don't quite know whether they would quite go with it. And on top of that, the makers of Sesame Street haven't actually got in touch with me yet, so I'm obviously going to have to get on my knees and try and contact the spirit of Jim Henderson, see if he can sort something out for me. But never mind, let's get on with the first few inquiries of today. Bear in mind, of course, that this is readings by request, so if you want to have a tarot reading, request one, okay? Send me a private message via YouTube to the YouTube channel, Nick Dutch Tarot, and I'll be more than happy to add you to the rotor, and we'll keep the pipeline filled. I do permit repeat inquiries, but not too obsessive, okay? Not like all the time or every week or every couple of days, because like that's just like bad vibes, and it'll make it look like I'm just doing favoritism, and I can't have that. But either way, repeat inquiries are still welcome. So let's crack on with the first one today. Okay, we got an inquiry called Armeistus32. And this particular individual has in the past travelled to a foreign country and met someone and fallen in love with them. And a relationship has developed, but there were a few issues, and so now they're only communicating by email. And so there's a feeling that there's still a connection there, basically. But the question is this going to become something new, or should Armeistus actually ignore or forget this one particular individual? Now, the very fact that the word should has been included in the inquiry suggests something, okay? And that suggests that I should not answer the question should. I'm not here to tell you what to do, okay? I'm not the final decision maker in your life. That's your job, not mine. All I can do is tell you what I can see, and you can use this as a moment of contemplation, reflection, and to get a different perspective and point of view, okay? But without further ado, we'll have a quick look at the reading, and all I can do is tell you what I can see, and I'll use my standard 8-card relationship reading, and we'll see what kind of thoughts, feelings, moods, energies, and all the rest appear for you today. Just a second, please. Okay, a bit of an interesting reading. I think for this one I'll show you the cards and we'll see what you make of them, and I'll just describe what I'm seeing as we go along. Alright, first and foremost, cards on your side, cards on his side, forces between you, short term, mid term, long term. Obviously you are communicating, the forces between you coming out very strong. That's the Ace of Swords, for those of you who can actually see that and don't have the same level of progressive myopia which I seem to have these days. But that can deal with communication, that can deal with a sense of there being that continuing bond. On your side of things, you're not too sure whether you're seeing this in a sense of whether there is futility there or whether there is self-actualization there. You're torn between the two, but you don't want to let this individual go. I feel that one of the problems that you're already doing is seeing things for how they would like to be, you would like to see them, rather than seeing things the way they are. But we'll come back to that later, okay? On the other individual side of things, very similar kind of a message, sense of disappointment or restriction, a sense of something vaguely Saturnian there, namely a feeling of almost powerlessness, a sense of not being able to quite get to where you want to go, and so the energy there is really rather difficult, but again with a sense that this is an individual who would like to help you or provide you with extra benefits with the passage of time, but the sense of frustration is definitely there in quite a big way. So realistically, that's actually quite a difficult situation. Now, in the here and now, you do not have a relationship. You've got to get that clear in your mind. You've got communication. You've got strong friendship. I think that's valuable. I really do. I think that's very valuable indeed, so you don't want to lose it. But, we've got no cup signs here, we've got very few cup signs there, and they're not the most positive cup signs in the world. So there may very well be that emotional bond between the two of you, but the problem with that is that there's not all that much in the way of real, passionate, heart-to-heart, heart chakra interconnectivity, kind of like all baby, kind of like cool stuff. The question in the future, short-term, mid-term and long-term, starting with short-term on the left, moving on to mid-term in the middle and long-term at the outside. Very similar messages carrying on throughout the whole thing. Alright, at the moment you got a situation of interference, that's what the reading is suggesting, but the signs of interference are reversed. Now this means that you've still got some potential to maintain what you've got, despite the fact it's looking a bit darky and a bit gloomy. There's the word interference there, if you can see that. If you don't have the same problems that my camera has optically, there you go. So it's a difficult situation in your short-term future. Communication's improving longer term, and there's still a sense of there being supportiveness there. So the kind of affection that you've got is great. And, keep that going. We've got signs here which are being reflected in the form of a repeated motif in your mid-term future. We've got signs of there being pleasure and excitement later on down the line. One thing I will say about your longer-term future signs, it being the Wheel of Fortune, that's talking much more about there is some potential there. There's some extra dimension, there's more of a level of fun, pleasure, something else which is making you think that there is something else in the longer term. So there is some hope there. But what we don't have is anything concrete. We don't have anything concrete saying, boom, you're there, you're sorted out, you've got a relationship all over again. So it makes me feel that this is a very good, very strong friend with something else on the emotional side. Yes. I don't feel that this is a full, complete relationship. I feel this is a communication and friendship relationship of a very good order. And that's good enough, basically. And I feel that's the way it's got to be maintained. Alright, now some people come to me and they say things like, I just want you to tell me what I want to hear. Now, I got the feeling or the impression that what you would have loved me to do was to turn around to you and say, everything's going to be perfect. Don't worry about it. This time next week, you'll be back together, seeing each other every single day. You'll be bringing you champagne and flowers every single morning. You're going to have a real wonderful time, unless, of course, you've got hay fever and you react badly to flowers and champagne or something like that. But, it's going to be totally red hot and sexy. This is not a situation like that. This is a situation whereby you've got to look back at the good times you've had and see that as what they are, something valuable. I feel this is a time whereby you've got to look at what you've got in the here and now, which is communication and support, which is also very valuable. There is something in the future there, but it's not solid, it's not fireworks and champagne. It's a different feeling. And as such, it's got to be treated in a different way, basically. And you've got to be a bit down to earth about that. So be open towards someone new anyway, because essentially that's what you need right now. This individual has still got a few issues, and there's still a feeling of restriction there. Okay? Let's go on to the next inquiry, shall we? Alright, now we got a very interesting inquiry coming for you next. This is from someone whose YouTube channel is AV949. And AV949 is also someone who works in the same field as myself. Is another reader, is someone who deals with energies and symbols and all the rest of that, and is curious about the next development of AV949's magical studies. Now the word magical itself is really rather broad. I mean, of course, there's a definition by Aleister Crowley. Magic is the art and science of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. But not everyone adheres to that. Many people use the word magical to mean spiritual, or something to do with the religious world, or something to do with healing or divination, or something of that nature. It's not just a question of the application of scientific thought to nature, but a question of exploring the underbelly, the sort of difficult to define stuff that we all deal with if you're in this particular field. I'll lay out a quick spread for you and we'll just see what kind of things come through, see what kind of messages appear. So just bear with me a second, please. For the most part, not looking too bad at all. There are some signs here which is talking about a sense of instability, a sense of you've gone as far as you can right now with what you've been given. I get the impression that you've probably read quite extensively. I get the feeling that you've absorbed quite a lot of knowledge, but a lot of that knowledge is from a particular or singular point of view. I feel you're at a different time in your life when you need to challenge the ideas that you've been given. I feel that you've reached a time in your intellectual development associated with spiritual matters in which another perspective is needed. The impression that I'm getting about yourself is that you don't just want to be able to do an awful lot more in terms of experimenting and exploring with this particular world, the most wonderful tools we've been given, our brains, our bodies, the universe, but also to do so in a way which is quite beneficial to yourself and to other people. It's not something which is too specific. Plenty of signs here which are connected to those of clairvoyance, something more to do with interpreting things which appear when you're translucid, much more sort of dream interpretation orientated, but not purely dream orientation, almost as if you want to use dream interpretation and something that you get from that as a springboard to bring you up to another level. I get the feeling that you understand what I'm talking about here. Also, my impression as the moon signs also deal with a sense of trance or going into something of an altered state of consciousness, focusing a lot more on something of a shamanic nature, doing something to assist a person in their own development through their life, because the word spiritual doesn't just mean to do with spirits, it means to do with the individual and their essence. And thus spiritual healing can sometimes mean helping a person to overcome issues using what appears to be spiritual means. So that's something that I think you could be quite good at. You have a certain level of perspective, but it appears to me that you've had an awful lot of stuff being thrown into your mind because of your reading, and I want you to start thinking about putting that aside and start thinking about what you yourself are picking up and how you can intuitively work with that. This reading has been incredibly strong on the water signs. Yeah, you get a certain degree of, just as it says here, pleasure from doing the work you're doing, a desire to help other people, and getting a feeling of pride from that. And it also portrays you as being almost a matriarchal character within your own field. I mean, you might be a male person, okay, but on the other hand, the reading is talking about you having a loving energy around other people and wanting to give to other people and nurture other people and bring them up to the next level. My next impression here is interesting to explain, because the signs are those of prudence and caution, but we've also had signs here of a sense of a change of direction towards a more spiritually and trance-orientated direction, in which you yourself are doing much more hands-on work. I feel you need a bit of time to rebuild your own ideas as to where you want to take your skills, and to practice and build up your own shamanism, build up your own dream interpretation, and move away from the academic side of things and the literature side of things for a while. That's my impression. Okay, we have an inquiry from someone called Decardin. Okay, that's their YouTube channel name. Sorry about that, okay? But Decardin is someone who is learning a lot themselves, doing an awful lot in the way of meditation, seeing the future in their dreams. I used to get that a lot, and that was one of the many springboards I've had which have helped me to move along this path. I mean, the way it happened for me is I saw ghosts about the age of 4, and that was really, really cool. So I got into reading ghost stories. Then I started seeing the future in my dreams in my teenage years, and I had an angel experience, and all of these things just made me think something is happening here, and it's really rather weird. Then I tried to become an engineer, and that didn't quite work out according to plan, because I guess I was torn between two different worlds. On one side of things, my nature was dragging me towards more spiritual things, but my scientific side was driving me towards engineering things of a practical nature. And later on in life, I started studying things to do with helping people. And maybe that's been part of my journey to bring me back to what I'm really good at. So the way your journey can go can be really rather difficult and interesting, but I'd just say enjoy it. But you asked me to do a quick reading for you, so what I'll do is I will base this loosely upon the Celtic Cross spread, and we'll see what kind of thoughts, feelings, moods and energies and all the rest of that come through. The quality of cliches I come out with these days is over the top. I must work upon them. Alright, well, you've got some fun coming your way, I reckon. The forces surrounding your character and your nature, your inner character, very healing, but also a desire to try and progress a bit further than the level of abilities you've got at the moment. You're the kind of person who would love to run before you can walk. The way you deal with other people can be very passionate. You've got to start stepping that back and thinking more about the appropriate social behavior which you're doing with people, because the instincts, the emotions and the drives inside you are basically taking you to another level with people, and that's not necessarily as positive as you'd like it to be. But the drives and determination I've got within this reading, as far as you yourself and your own energy is concerned, is very positive indeed. So you do want results, but you want results now, which is okay. But take a breath and do some thinking. All right. It's all part of everyone else's journey. We've all been given too many ideas, and we all need to work out which one's right, which one's wrong, learn which to put in our bag and which to throw away, okay? As well as which ones we've got in our bag we want to change into something that's better. So we need to get that, those definitions right. As far as awareness is concerned, conscious mind, there's a sense of there being struggles around you, and it's not just a question of struggling with your gift, although we've got some very strong gift-orientated signs associated with your deep subconscious mind. Now, the star card, the wish card, as some people call it, speaks of you getting what you want to get, and it's coming for you not too far around the corner. But those signs were reversed, so on the cartomancy side of things, we'd have to say that there's going to be a bit of a delay or a few more challenges to be overcome. So bring yourself back in line with what nature is telling you is right, and not necessarily what your instincts and your gut is telling you what's right. So there's things to think about, and it's just a question of bringing yourself slowly back in line into something which is appropriate for your environment as well as for your own core star nature, and to make sure you get that balance just about right. Reflection upon the past. It looks like you used to have a very strong idea and understanding as to what's real, what's solid, and you were someone who had a lot of control. That seems to have been corroded or eroded, and so now you're building yourself up anew. That's the way it seems to me. I mean, I don't feel that it was necessarily an extremely traumatic experience in the past, but I don't see it as being like the most sort of like tranquil and peaceful situation either. It looks to me like you're anticipating a few more challenges in the future. Well, aren't we all? In this particular case, the feeling is rather frustrating. It's rather a question of coming up against someone or something which appears to be acting negatively against you. But it's also very victory orientated as well. Sword signs can often speak about you using your communication skills in a manner which is beneficial to yourself, so winning an argument basically. That's what the reading is suggesting is coming for you in your longer term future. Finally, the actual progression through short-term, mid-term and longer-term future. Yeah, okay, so mid-term future, a few anxieties. I feel that that's what we saw here, okay? But that's 3 to 6 months down the line from now. It doesn't seem to be very dominant because there's no feeling that that is the main dominant energy here. I mean, we've got major arcana cards, we've got sword signs, we've got coin signs, yeah. And there's a variety before me. Your very short-term future, maintaining your stability, maybe protecting yourself, maybe doing a bit of intellectual preparation in case whatever this is comes around the corner for you. The final two signs are things which I feel have already been there for you and been there within you. The lust or desire for success and achievement and doing what is right for yourself and other people, as well as something miraculous which you yourself can achieve. As I've mentioned before in previous reading videos, the Prince of Swords there, Prince of Wands there, often stands for the energy of the Archangel Michael. It's a solar symbol, speaking about power and control, because the sun in our sky maintains the entire solar system purely by the power of its gravity, and it gives us the light and wisdom, and the sun is therefore an analogy for God. So it's something of a good and positive nature coming your way. But the unexpected part of the reading, and this is the positioning of this card, is what's the most important thing about this, because it's talking about desire for results, and that's something which has been inside you all along, despite the fact you're anticipating negativity. okay? Despite the fact you can get a bit defensive once in a while. The prophecy of the star card is going to come your way. And it's not just a question of how you use and develop your empathic skills and your spiritual skills. It's a question of how you apply yourself in your family environment, and I feel there's a reason why that's come through to me there. As well as in your working life. Okay, let's move on to the next reading. Bear with me a second, please. Okay, there's an individual who's made an inquiry today. She knows who she is, so I'm not going to mention her channel name, and I'm not going to mention her name. This is someone who's got an emotional bond or connection with someone who is a practicing alcoholic. Right, these are difficult situations for one to read on. Because practicing alcoholics are very, very difficult people. And one of the secrets of my life is I used to be one. I got sober nearly 7 years ago. And if you are a practicing alcoholic, the thing that you consider to be normal and appropriate is to be drunk and insane. Alright? Occasionally a moment of clarity can come which the individual can use to then get themselves better. But these can be rare. And it's very difficult for you to be in a relationship with someone who is a practicing alcoholic if they're not really making the necessary requirements to get better, namely to get therapy or to join Alcoholics Anonymous or to go to a treatment center and take all of that stuff seriously. And there's too many people who just don't do those things. From your point of view, I strongly recommend you go and join the organization called Al-Anon, which is there for the family and or friends of the practicing alcoholic, and get some support and get some understanding of his condition that way. But you asked me to read upon whether you will be able to connect with this individual in the future. I will see what I can see here. Here we go. Just bear with me a second. Okay, standard 8 card relationship reading, Nick Dutch style. Here we go. The forces between you are talking about stability. There's a sense of love and protectiveness about that, yes. And as it's a strong female energy, I would say it's coming from your side of things towards him. Am I trying to tell you that he does not love you? No, I don't think that's the case at all, because on his side of the reading, very strong cup signs. But there's also a sense of treachery. He's paranoid, he's fearful. And he's also the kind of individual who would do something negative to somebody else because he feels that somebody else may do something negative to him, despite the fact that that is delusional. Okay, so he is a delusional individual, which of course makes sense taking into account his situation. So it's a very difficult situation for you, it's a very difficult situation for him. You got to get that straight, okay? Your side of the reading, which also makes an awful lot of sense. Okay, Ten of Staves talking about a sense of oppression or a sense of being controlled, a sense of frustration, negativity. It feels emotionally very difficult, but it's also a sense of wanting to be the knight in shining armor, as is evident within the Knight of Wands. So you want to protect, you want to guard, you want to look after, but there's also this anger, frustration, irritations, feeling of being controlled and restrained. Because I feel, this is weird, okay, because I feel that you don't feel brave enough to move onward. I just got this feeling that you would love to be able to move onward either with him or with somebody else, and you're seeing it in a very black and white manner. You know, either it is going to work out perfectly with him, then that's fine, or you've got to consider him out of the picture, completely out of the picture, and then you go on with somebody else. Does it have to be that black and white? I mean, really, seriously, does it have to be that black and white? I would say no. I mean, obviously it's very difficult when, you know, you've got your emotions, you've got your heart tied up with someone, and you can almost feel it. And you also don't want to do something which is goes against that feeling. But come off it, woman. You've got to start caring for yourself once in a while. And the person you're dealing with, all you can do is say, look, I want to be with you, but not until you've gone to AA and you've taken it seriously. You've got to start taking the right attitude to this, and you've got to start being responsible to yourself. because you're important. Your attitude here appears to be, this individual who has the capacity to be delusional and to treat me badly is more important than I am. And like, how wrong is that? Don't think like that. It's not healthy. It really is not healthy. You are the center of your own life. Alright, and that's something that you've got to really remember. The future part of the reading is looking very confused. There is a sense of there being some happiness there, but it's in the Fool card though, isn't it? And that means you get your happiness if you ignore some of the facts which are happening around you. Well, I'll leave you with that thought for the moment, but what I would say is that when you do talk to him next, you need to express your needs. When you talk to him next, you need to tell him what to sort out, and the fact he's got to start showing responsibility to it. And you've got to start seeing yourself as being a much more important individual. I mean, good God, woman. You are more important in your life than he is. You're more important in your life than your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your son and your daughter. Why? Because if you're not physically and emotionally strong enough to look after yourself, then how the hell are you supposed to look after anybody else? Come on. Get that straight. Okay, we got an inquiry from someone whose YouTube channel name is FreeWorld06, I think, who's inquiring about one particular individual. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail about the situation because it's got some issues, it's got some complexity. So what I'll do is I'll just get straight on with the reading and I'll tell you what I can see. Obviously there's a feeling of, there is some distance going on between the two of them, but there's still something else of a rather subtle and promising nature there as well. So let's just have a quick look and see what's going on here. Okay. Quite good emotionally. There's a feeling of there being a very good bond there. On his side of things towards you, I would say that's good because there's a strong desire to try and create something new. So this is someone who actually wants to try and overcome a few obstacles and actually participate in the relationship itself. You can expect there being good communication coming later on down the line. Okay. Obviously, you mentioned the deployments, and so there's some issues there. Okay. Keep in touch with him, basically, and also be proactive towards him. Don't do all this, well, the ball's in his court now kind of rubbish. You know, that's not always good. If you're interested in having a relationship with him, you've got to be proactive too. Sure, you can be over the top or you can be under the top. Getting the quantity just right can be a bit difficult, but the bottom line is you're an intelligent woman, for crying out loud. You can work it out. Right? Signs of things on your side of the reading. Okay, well, there's strong sense of a bond, awareness of there being conflict there, that conflict is being both internal and of course external because of the, the situation and what's going on there. Basically, it's not looking too bad, but there's just issues here, okay? Alright, the future part of the reading I would say is looking very good indeed, because the signs there are predominantly loving. Sure, we got some signs of there being some anxiety, and there's some signs of struggle on the way, but for the most part, it looks like you've got a bond there, so essentially you've got something to play with and play for and all that cool stuff. So don't worry about that. It's to my mind, it's actually looking okay. There is love there, so try and use that to the best of your ability. All right? Okay. My name's Nick Dutch. I read tarot for a living. If you want to appear in the tarot show, submit me a request via the private message system on the YouTube channel name Nick Dutch Tarot, and I'll be happy to get back to you. No requests in the comment section, but I do welcome you to provide comments if you wish. Okay, don't forget to rate, subscribe, because that way you get plenty of updates and you get extra therapeutic benefit from hearing other people, other people's stories and the rest of it. So maybe it'll do you some good as well. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Just enjoy it, okay? This is supposed to be, this is legally billed as an entertainment service for obvious, very real common sense reasons. Namely, you're the person who's in charge of your own life, and you must never forget that, okay? I'm not the person who should be in control of you because I'm the great and powerful Nick Dutch. Chill out, relax. You don't have to take life too seriously. Well, unless it's serious things you've got to deal with, and then you've got to take them seriously. But apart from that, relax. Just take life nice and easy. You're probably going to be fine. And if you aren't fine, well, then there's a few issues you got to work around. And that's basically the rich tapestry of life, the variety of existence. Alright, well, I look forward to speaking to you again very, 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 very soon. And we'll do some more tarot readings. Send your requests through, and we'll speak again soon.